So here's what happened. He lost a legal challenge that he mounted over the British government's decision to downgrade his security.
Just when the world thought Prince Harry's life in America was settled, a shocking twist changes everything. In a surprising announcement, Prince Harry has reportedly renounced his U.S. residency and is quietly begging to return to the U.K. alone, without his wife, Meghan Markle. So, what pushed Harry to make such a drastic move?
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage.
Why walk back to a life he once rejected, and without Meghan by his side? Join us as we uncover Prince Harry's shocking decision to return home without his wife. Prince Harry returned to Britain. The Duke of Sussex is returning to the United Kingdom, but not because he wants to. This is not a heartfelt homecoming or a quiet family reunion. It is a return forced by law, not love. His arrival is the direct legal outcome of his own actions, and the British monarchy has made its position unmistakably clear. His return will be acknowledged, but nothing more. There will be no royal shelter, no official protection, and no political intervention disguised as diplomatic privilege. To the institution he once represented, he is no longer family business. His exit from the United States was not voluntary, no matter how it may be framed in public. At exactly 8 GMT on January 28, 2026, Buckingham Palace released an official statement numbered 186. It was unlike any royal communication in recent history. The tone was cold, direct, and brutally final. There was no emotion, no soft language, and no attempt to shield the reality. Prince Harry had been deported from the United States and was on his way back to Britain, stripped of status, support, and legal influence. Within minutes, the statement exploded across global headlines. What had circulated for months as rumor, speculation, and quiet leaks suddenly hardened into undeniable fact. This was no longer gossip. It was policy. And unlike earlier family tensions that were carefully hidden behind tradition and royal restraint, this time the monarchy spoke with sharp precision and deliberate distance. The message was unmistakable. Harry had lost everything. He was not returning as a prince. He was returning as a problem that needed managing. At the center of the collapse was the revocation of Prince Harry's O1 visa. This elite United States immigration status is reserved only for individuals who demonstrate extraordinary ability in fields such as the arts, science, athletics, or business. For nearly 6 years, Harry depended on this visa to rebuild his life in America. He attempted to reinvent himself as a media producer, a mental health advocate, and a commercial brand. That foundation quietly began to crack. In the final quarter of 2025, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, launched a low-profile investigation following multiple congressional inquiries into alleged abuse of immigration pathways by high-profile individuals. The trigger was not an external accusation. It was Harry's own words. In his 2023 memoir, Spare, he openly admitted to long-term drug use, including cocaine, magic mushrooms, and marijuana. He described these experiences as stretching from his teenage years well into adulthood. At the time of publication, these admissions were praised by many as honest, brave, and healing. But to United States immigration officials, they carried a very different meaning. They were treated as confessions. Under ENIA, Section 212 AEN, any foreign national who admits to violating controlled substance laws may be considered inadmissible or deportable, even without a criminal conviction. For holders of an O1 visa, the bar is even higher. Continuous legal compliance, ongoing proof of extraordinary achievement, and an active United States-based sponsor are mandatory requirements. By late November 2025, all three of those pillars had collapsed. Netflix severed its relationship. Spotify entered arbitration. Meghan's agency, WME, declined to renew its joint representation of the couple. Their production company, Aruel, drifted into uncertainty. Most damaging of all, no legal entity was willing to sponsor Harry's visa renewal. Without a sponsor, his immigration status unraveled completely. On January 10, 2020, DHS issued a notice to appear, known as an NTA. This civil removal order gave Harry 10 business days to leave the country voluntarily or face full deportation proceedings. Appeals were filed and rejected. Political influence was attempted and failed. Emergency legal motions went nowhere. Just after midnight on January 26, 2026, Prince Harry boarded a commercial British Airways flight under diplomatic escort. The symbolism was stark. The man who once walked behind his mother's coffin under intense global protection was now processed like any ordinary civilian. He was seated in 2A on flight BA 268 from LAX to Heathrow. No private jet, no royal exemption, just a procedure. The forced exit was not only legal, it was financial and logistical. The Montecito estate, once declared a personal sanctuary, had become a financial trap. According to court filings first reported by the Los Angeles Times, Harry and Meghan had defaulted on 2 consecutive mortgage payments to First Republic Bank, now a subsidiary of J.P. Morgan. The property, purchased for $14.65 million in 2020, with a $9.5 million loan, entered pre-foreclosure on January 8, 2026. With no active United States income, no visa sponsor, and mounting civil liabilities, the situation became impossible. Among the debts was an estimated $3.6 million owed to Tyler Perry for unpaid private security and transportation services. Time had run out. Money had run out. Options had disappeared. Attempts to downgrade his status from O1 to a B2 tourist visa were blocked by DHS due to ongoing inadmissibility concerns and financial instability. A relocation to Canada was denied under bilateral visa intelligence sharing agreements. No European Union country offered private asylum. Media speculation about escapes to Botswana, Argentina, or a remote Pacific island proved to be pure fantasy. There was only one destination left. His return to Britain is not being framed as a welcome. It is being treated as a containment procedure under what has been described as Operation Iron Gate, a counterintelligence initiative reportedly led by Prince William and supported by Princess Anne. Upon arrival at Heathrow, Prince Harry is to be processed like any other flagged individual. There will be no diplomatic lounge, no fast-track clearance, and no palace convoy. Officials within the Home Office confirmed that the Frogmore Cottage lease was officially terminated on January 15th, and all security clearances linked to Harry's former residences were revoked. His status in Britain is now unofficial, unprotected, and unaffiliated. He no longer belongs to the system, and the system no longer shields him. The irony is sharp and unforgiving. The very book meant to free Prince Harry, Spare, ultimately became the tool of his collapse. Why was Harry finding it difficult to get a visa? Let's find out. Harry's visa struggles. In January 2023, Harry's book Spare shocked the world with its brutal honesty. In it, Harry openly admitted that as a teenager, he had used cocaine, smoked marijuana in the gardens of Kensington Palace, and later took psychedelic mushrooms while in California. He even described a strange hallucination where a toilet bowl appeared to talk to him. Many readers saw these stories as dramatic and sensational, but for U.S. immigration officials, they were something much more serious. Under U.S. immigration law, specifically INA, Section 212, A.2, any foreign national who admits to breaking drug laws can be declared inadmissible. This applies even if the drug use happened in another country and never resulted in an arrest or conviction. Most people never have to worry about such legal details, but Harry was not an ordinary person. At the time, Harry was living in the U.S. on an O1 visa. This visa is reserved for people with extraordinary ability in their field. While celebrities often qualify, the rules are still strict. Applicants must show long-term recognition, ongoing professional work, and active sponsorship from a U.S.-based company or organization. Immigration officials also consider moral character and whether the person is still actively contributing to their field. In 2020, Netflix and Spotify provided the strong institutional backing needed to support Harry and Meghan's visa applications. But by late 2025, everything had changed. Spotify canceled Meghan's Archetypes podcast. Netflix reduced their deal to just one remaining project. Their talent agency, WME, quietly stepped back, saying their future plans no longer aligned. Without an active sponsor, and with Harry's own written admissions of drug use, his legal standing began to collapse. Harry had not only lost his professional platform, but he had also effectively given immigration authorities signed proof against himself. In December 2025, Meghan's legal team made a final attempt to save the situation. They applied to convert Harry's O1 visa into a B2 tourist visa. This would have allowed him to stay in the U.S. for up to 6 months each year, but without permission to work or settle long-term. A leaked rejection letter from the Department of Homeland Security, later reported by The Guardian, listed several concerns: doubts about Harry's financial independence, ongoing legal disputes, public admissions of past illegal behavior, and a lack of evidence showing extraordinary professional activity in the previous year. In simple terms, Harry had no steady income, no active projects, no sponsor, and a damaged legal record. The situation worsened when it became clear that Meghan could not financially sponsor Harry either. Although she is a U.S. citizen, their shared debts told a troubling story. These included $12.5 million in repayment claims linked to Netflix and more than $3.6 million owed to Tyler Perry. Together, the numbers painted a picture of serious financial trouble. As deportation proceedings moved quickly, Harry's legal team looked for alternatives in other countries. Canada refused to fast-track residency. Argentina and Portugal reportedly declined informal requests. A quiet appeal to Botswana, where Harry had personal ties, received no response. Even the UK did not offer an easy path home. Leaked documents connected to Operation Irongate suggested that Prince William and Princess Anne worked together to ensure Harry would receive no special treatment if he returned. The message from both Washington and London was unmistakable. Harry was no longer protected by status or privilege. There was no grand farewell from his California estate. The gates of Riven Rock didn't slam shut. They simply opened one last time. Harry left under federal escort, not as a prince or a duke, but as an ordinary man facing the law. At 2:42 p.m. on January 26, 2026, a white envelope appeared at the security booth outside the Montecito mansion. It carried the seal of First Republic Bank, now operating under J.P. Morgan Chase. Inside was the final blow to the Sussex's California dream, a court-approved foreclosure notice. The house, bought in July 2020 for $14.65 million, had not received a mortgage payment since September 2025, according to court records in Santa Barbara County. Despite early financial help from private backers, especially Tyler Perry, who had contributed more than $3.6 million towards security and housing, the growing debt and collapse of media deals left the household exposed. For Meghan, the breakdown had begun earlier. While Harry struggled to save his immigration status, she held a series of private meetings with lawyers and PR advisors in Los Angeles. By January 20th, her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, was officially registered under her name alone. Joint accounts were frozen. Her relationship with WME was quietly reorganized. Sources say Meghan was advised to protect what assets remained and separate herself legally from any upcoming federal decisions. Could this lead to separation between Harry and Meghan? Let's find out. Harry and Meghan split. On the night of January 24th, during what would be their last night living together, Harry walked into the master bedroom carrying one rolling suitcase and 2 duffel bags. He looked shocked and overwhelmed. According to someone close to the couple, he said, "We have to leave tonight. They're not just canceling the visa, they're taking the property. J.P. Morgan is serious." Meghan, however, stayed calm. She stood by the window, watching helicopters circle above the estate as paparazzi followed every move. Her reply was calm but firm, and it crushed the last hope Harry had about them standing together. "You have to go," she said. "I'm staying for the children, for the brand, for the future." She explained her reasons clearly: Archie and Lilibet's schools, their American citizenship, and her upcoming product launch. And just like that, the partnership they once formed against the royal family quietly ended. Not with a fight, but with her choosing to stay behind. Later that same night, Harry tried to transfer part of the property into Meghan's name, desperate to fix something, but lawyers stopped it. The estate was already under review and close to being seized. At 8:06 a.m., the next morning, agents from the Department of Homeland Security arrived with a final order. Harry was told to leave the property within 24 hours. What followed wasn't a dramatic exile. It was a complete breakdown of his support system. There was no private jet, no diplomatic help, and no powerful friends left in Washington. Instead, Harry was given a one-way commercial flight, British Airways flight BA268, leaving Los Angeles on January 26th at 7:10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. People at LAX later said they saw Harry arrive in a rented black SUV. He looked tired and unshaven, wearing a baseball cap and a gray hoodie. He had just one suitcase and no staff with him. He stood in the regular TSA line, took off his shoes, declared nothing, and did not qualify for any private lounge. Around him, cameras snapped photos. TikTok live streams popped up instantly. One woman whispered, "That's the prince." Another answered quietly, "Not anymore." Harry boarded first class alone. As he flew across the Atlantic, Buckingham Palace prepared its response. The official statement was set to be released at 8 a.m. GMT on January 28th. Sources say Princess Anne and Prince William personally reviewed the final wording the night before. The message was carefully written and very clear. This was not a family reunion. It was the legal result of Harry's own choices. There would be no warm welcome and no emotional language. The royal family would not pretend he was returning home. This was a controlled process, handled privately. Operation Irongate had entered its final stage. The lease on Frogmore Cottage was cancelled. Royal security access was removed. Border alerts were activated. Harry's fingerprints, once stored under royal diplomatic status, were now listed as those of a high-profile civilian under normal security review. Rain poured heavily over Heathrow Airport, cold, gray, and relentless. It soaked the runway and dripped from Terminal 5 like a warning that this was not a welcome return. At exactly 1:47 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on January 27, 2026, British Airways flight BA268 from Los Angeles landed on runway 27L. It was a normal landing. No diplomats were waiting. No royal security team was there. No black Jaguar from Windsor stood nearby. Prince Harry was not returning as a prince. He was entering the UK as a civilian, processed under standard border rules, marked internally as a high-profile individual, with past security concerns under Operation Irongate. As passengers left the plane, Harry stayed seated until almost everyone else was gone. He had no entourage, just a carry-on bag and the heavy silence of lost status. His HRH title was gone. His diplomatic passport was gone. Why did Harry call his father King Charles? Let's find out. Harry's call to King Charles. Prince Harry arrived in London after being deported from the United States, and people quickly began to gather. Airport police created a safety zone, but no car came from the palace. For the first time in his life, Harry had no official vehicle, no elite security, and no royal team waiting to take him away. He stood just outside the arrivals doors, holding his bags. Rain ran down the glass as camera flashes lit up the night. His phone buzzed inside his jacket. His hands trembled as he checked it. He wasn't calling an assistant. He wasn't calling a lawyer. He was calling his father. At 1:58 p.m., Greenwich Mean Time, inside Clarence's house, a leather-covered phone vibrated on a polished wooden desk. The screen showed Harry's private number. King Charles sat in his study, surrounded by shelves filled with royal history. In front of him was a choice: his duty as king or his love as a father. His finger hovered over the answer button. Part of him wanted to pick up. Another part told him not to. Then someone else stepped forward. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, came out of the shadows. His face was serious. His voice was cold. "Don't," William said. "He's in trouble," Charles whispered. "He made it our problem," William replied. "Now he must face it. He's still your son, but he betrayed the crown. He sold our family's legacy for money and attention. He tried to destroy us, and now he wants help." The phone rang again. "We don't negotiate with terrorists," William said firmly. "That's what you told the Home Office." The king said nothing. He let the phone keep ringing. Then it stopped. The call went to voicemail. At that moment, another door between father and son quietly closed. Inside the palace, a phrase had been used for months: Operation Iron Gate. Few people outside the royal circle knew what it meant. By January 2026, it was fully active. Created by Prince William and Princess Anne, the plan was not meant to stop an enemy nation, but a dangerous royal insider. The rules were strict. Harry's lease at Frogmore Cottage officially ended on January 15th. The locks were changed and security was updated to block him completely. The UK border force was ordered to treat him like a normal citizen. No special treatment. No diplomatic shortcuts. All royal security was removed. Every access code and clearance linked to Harry was cancelled. Even Clarence House was placed on high alert while he was in the country. The royal family agreed to say nothing publicly until his return became official news. The goal was simple: not to welcome Harry back, but to control the situation. For Harry, the message was clear. He had nowhere to go. Scotland Yard was no longer an option. Windsor residences were closed to him. Highgrove House was off limits. Friends who once supported him stayed silent. Even palace staff who once liked the fun-loving younger prince now saw him as a risk. Meghan did not answer his calls that day. Her public statement, released by her team, did not mention the deportation. It focused only on her brand and her children's lives in the United States. So Harry took a black cab and headed onto the M4 motorway, staring out at the gray English sky. The country he was born into now felt cold and distant. What was once his home had become a locked fortress. Has Prince Harry been involved in any scandal in the past? Let's take a closer look. Prince Harry royal scandal. In the summer of 2001, 16-year-old Harry was caught drinking and smoking cannabis in the backyard of Highgrove. The News of the World later printed old photos and a quote from Clarence House confirming the incident. By January 2002, Harry was sent to Featherstone Lodge, a rehab center in South London, for a single day of reflection. At the time, the story was downplayed. Now it's being revisited as early evidence of risky behavior, the kind that eventually caused problems with his U.S. visa. In 2005, the world remembered another controversy: Harry at a costume party in Wiltshire, wearing a Nazi armband and smiling. Back then, it was seen as just a bad taste joke. Today, it's framed as a warning sign of unchecked rebellion. Within 48 hours of his return to the UK, newspapers like Leond, Der Spiegel, and El País ran stories titled "The Rise and Fall of a Royal." On TikTok, clips of Harry's past nightclub fights were edited together with the caption, "He thought he could beat Buckingham Palace." Inside the palace, the situation shifted from quiet containment to active defense. Prince William, according to a source close to Kensington Palace, was furious at the media's tone, feeling the royal family had abandoned Harry. In private meetings, he reportedly said, "The public needs to understand. We tried everything. I tried everything, and he weaponized it." William's anger wasn't just about the headlines, it was personal. He had begged Harry not to publish Spare and even asked King Charles to freeze the book's distribution when drafts leaked in 2022. When Harry described William as temperamental, media-focused, and emotionally distant, William felt betrayed. He allegedly told Princess Anne in late 2025, "I was his brother and his mother. I supported him when he collapsed, and he turned me into a villain for money." Watching Harry return, not as a royal, but as a cautionary tale, William's mission shifted from protecting his brother to protecting the monarchy. Under the guidance of Sir Clive Alderton and Princess Anne, the palace quietly sent a chilling message to press contacts. "The Crown does not shelter saboteurs." That phrase began appearing in editorials, columns, and off-the-record reports. Even King Charles, usually the moderating voice, made no comment. He reportedly ignored Harry's call from Heathrow, which only fueled the story. A former palace staffer summed it up bluntly. William closed the door, Charles let it happen. Anne reinforced the lock. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Meghan Markle stayed unusually quiet. Her spokesperson issued only one line. The Duchess is focused on her children, her business, and her family's privacy. Yet her actions spoke louder. She wasn't listed on any legal appeals related to Harry's visa or property issues. On January 12th, she formally incorporated her personal brand, American Riviera Orchard, as a sole proprietorship, removing Harry as a legal partner. Publicists framed Meghan's story as resilience amidst chaos, with talk show appearances planned without Harry. TMZ added fuel, quoting a friend who said Meghan had told Harry to "go fix it," and he didn't. By January 28th, at 1800 GMT, Harry checked into a rented cottage on the outskirts of Oxfordshire, under private security but without any state protection. For the first time, he had no royal authority shielding him, no official home, no office, no country, no plan. With just one suitcase, a laptop, and a phone full of missed calls, it was clear Harry hadn't only lost his visa, he'd lost his place in the story. The image of Prince Harry as the rogue, rebellious royal had been consumed by its own myth. How is Meghan coping after Harry's shocking decision? Let's find out. Meghan Markle brand shift. Back in California, Meghan Markle is busy reshaping her image, not as a duchess, not as Harry's wife, but as a standalone American figure. Her brand, American Riviera Orchard, is moving ahead with carefully planned launches, lifestyle hints, subtle PR moves, and rumors of a solo streaming appearance reflecting on her journey. She hasn't mentioned Harry publicly since his forced departure from the U.S. Insiders close to the WME agency describe her new strategy clearly. No looking back, no apologies, just moving forward. Meghan is no longer tied to Harry's problems. She's selling her survival. The woman who once said she was inseparable from her husband is now acting independently, protecting her brand, her American citizenship, and, according to some, keeping her children away from a father now seen as unstable and legally compromised. Speculation has already started. No paperwork has been filed yet, but silence carries its own weight within the royal family. Prince William has now stepped in as the key decision-maker. He drew the lines, refused to sign diplomatic letters, ordered Frogmore vacated, and told his father, Charles, "We do not negotiate with terrorists." William is receiving growing praise from Whitehall, the palace, and Commonwealth partners for protecting the monarchy, even from its own family. While Charles remains king, real influence has shifted. Decisions, security orders, crisis briefings, and public messaging now flow through William's circle. Kensington Palace is no longer secondary. It's the center of power. Charles watches, but William leads. According to a palace aide, Princess Anne has fully backed William's stance. "We gave him years," she reportedly told Charles. "We endured attacks, lies, and silence. But you cannot negotiate with someone who profits from destroying his own house." King Charles has aged noticeably in recent months. The stress of cancer treatments, political pressures, and his youngest son's drama have taken a toll. Still, it was at Clarence House, when a call went unanswered, that the final break happened. Charles still checks Harry's contact photo, scrolls old WhatsApp threads, and quietly asks staff about messages. But he no longer initiates contact. He has made a painful peace with the idea that Harry may never return. And if he does, it could be too late. So, what do you think about Prince Harry's shocking decision to return to the UK? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.